Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. It's funny to watch the left so mad over Trump's budget. Now, I'm mad. It's big. $4.4 trillion. I'm still going through it, trying to figure things out, but I want to read a couple things. But here's what CNN had to say about it. President Donald Trump's budget plan could add more than $7 trillion to the company's debt over the next decade. Now, here's what's funny about that. Barack Obama added $9 trillion to the country's debt over 8 years. And now suddenly these guys have become fiscal hawks. Goes back to say this. Such a plan goes against supposed Republican orthodoxy of trying to eliminate or at least bring down the federal budget debt and deficit. Some Republican members of Congress have voiced their frustration with raising deficits, which could derail Trump's budget proposal. Now, I said earlier in another broadcast, I said, I can see Trump using this in negotiation. $4.4 trillion, they come back, they say, that's too much money, Mr. President, and they get it down to 3.9. What's half a trillion with friends, right? So it settles on 3.9, which is probably 300 billion more than he wanted anyway. And so he looks golden when he doesn't spend it all. And then suddenly we get these decreases and, we get increases in the amount of income going back into the treasury, and we slowly start to pay it off. He looks like a hero. As long as he can keep interest rates down and keep a cap on the Fed, life is good for Donald Trump. So I don't know if that's what his plan is, but I know that the left hates it. No matter what it is, they'd hate it. Barack Obama could have come in with a $5 trillion deficit and not a leftist on the planet would have fought him. But Donald Trump comes in with one and even on the good news that the tax breaks, and in January, he was able to bring $49 billion, take $49 billion off the debt because they brought in so much revenue based on the tax cuts. So let's see what happens in what the January numbers look like. And if the January numbers look like, wow, we brought in another, $50 billion or $60 billion, say the trend starts to go up outside of April, because that's when the government writes checks for rebates, and that's going to be bigger this year than normal. But if Trump can keep things on even keel and start knocking that deficit down little by little, man, it's going to look pretty good. And then as I said, a lot of tsunami comes in, all these other things that he's done, continued deregulation. Businesses start to, come into the back to America, spurring new growth, housing starts, etc. Next thing you know, we're feasting again. Could be, but the Democrats aren't even going to talk about that. In fact, they say this: reducing the budget isn't an important issue for most Americans. According to a January Pew Research Center survey, just 48% of America said reducing the federal deficit should be a top priority for Trump and Congress to address this year. That ranked 14 of 19 issues tested. Defending the country from a terrorist attack, the top priority for Americans, was listed by 73%. Now, what's interesting about the Defending America piece, and I talked about this in a previous broadcast and multiple times, Donald Trump has set it up to where we'll spend a tenth of what we used to spend on military readiness and fighting terrorism than we ever have. That money that was being spent overseas is all coming back, pushing that off onto our so-called partners, Turkey, Israel, certainly Saudi Arabia, and then letting those contracts come in that he got, because Donald Trump's gone. Every time he travels, he brings back fat contracts. So when you look at that aspect of things, you're seeing tons of money. But here's what's good about the money that's being spent. Trump said, give me $1.5 trillion, whatever. I think this is for infrastructure. Think of the number of people that will be put to work on $75,000 to $100,000 jobs with roads, bridges, tunnels, and airports will be astounding. I don't know how much you fly. I fly a ton. I know the worst airports. I get tired of. I want to go. I remember the first trip that I made to Singapore, and I saw that airport and went, this is like going to the mall. This is fun. I don't mind hanging out at the airport. It was a 24-hour airport too. Shopping and magazines and food and all kinds of stuff. And it was very safe. I'm talking about you could leave stuff out and nobody steals there because they do very bad things to you. So thinking about what America's airports can look like, being a person that flies often, and hopefully getting rid of some of these airport taxes. I don't know. I'd like to see taxes and toll roads go away, but that's just my personal thing. But that kind of money, you're talking about getting people to work, keeping them busy, So that money is not like it's going into some void, like going to take care of Ray Ray's kids. This is money that's putting people to work, building up pensions, and so on and so forth. So great part of the plan. Now, maybe too much money. I'm not analyzing that. I think the budget is too big, period. Now, I'm going to go on. Indeed, most voters don't think Trump would do a good job concerning the deficit before he was put into office, or didn't think, I should say. Only 17% thought the budget would be in a lot better shape if Trump became president than it was in 2016. According to a June 2016 Pew Research Center study, when you lump in those who thought the deficit would be in at least a little better shape than it was in 2016, the percentage who thought it would be in better shape climbs to a relatively low 41%, lower than the figures for immigration, security, terrorism, and the economy at large. Now look, I don't want to beat you over the head with the statistics. It's boring radio. But everything that this person is trying to say is this, in a nutshell. I want you to be mad at Trump. He's breaking his promises to you. He said he was going to lower the debt, lower the deficit. He's going to do all these things. He's not. He's increasing the deficit. He's increasing the debt. Now, I gave you some numbers a while back. The debt clock is 20 trillion, 20.6 trillion. When Trump took office, it was roughly $20 trillion. The fact that he kept it under $1 trillion, I think is pretty impressive. Considering no quantitative easing, he got no help from Obama, who got $787 billion from Bush. Now, I'm not lamenting that we didn't put more money into the economy. Trump was no problem. Just give me the economy, I'll take over. So only seeing $600 billion of growth, now that's a lot, but only seeing that in a time when we were doing 1.3, we were doing double that under Obama, and we were ramping up to do even more. They had estimated $666 billion of additional debt, and they would have revised that upward probably to about $800 billion, but instead it only went up $600 billion, and now it's starting to go down. That's where I wanted to go. But this guy's mad. He's mad that you're not mad. He wants you to be upset. He says, of course, Trump is often mostly concerned about his base. Reducing deficits isn't as important of an issue to his supporters. Either 59% of Republicans or independents who lean Republicans rank it as a top priority in Pew's 2018 poll, which puts it at 11th of 19 issues. More of a concern for Republicans than for the general population, but still not close to being a top issue. It was below not other economic topics. For example, strengthening the economy, 78%, improving the job situation, 66%. So let me stop there. So he's telling you they don't care about the deficit. They want a stronger economy and they want better jobs because we're smart. We understand that stronger economy, better jobs will take care of the deficit. It increases the tax base. It's already started to be proven with the December numbers that were reported in January, late January, that we put $49 billion back into the Treasury from our tax receipts. And that's only going to get better. Consumer confidence. The idea of people saying, I can go out on a limb and do a little bit more, not debt-wise, because, I mean, even though there will be some debt, because there's always going to be stupid liberals that want to get themselves in debt. But I'm talking about people that are investing in themselves, investing in companies and things like this. But I come back to this. They want you to be mad. Why? Why is it look, I'm upset that we have a deficit, a budget that's $4.4 trillion. I said that the other day. I'll say it again today. It's too much money to be spending. Now, in the non-discretionary spending, that number is something like 73% of the deficit. So whatever that number we're looking at, 73% of that is something you can't touch. That means Social Security, all those entitlements, all that stuff is untouchable, and it's still going higher. Now, what else can impact this? The dismantling of Obamacare, the all these other things I talked about. The trade policy kicks in. The capitalism kicks in a big way. because we're waiting on these plants to be built and all the ancillary businesses and services that will form around that. But people remain optimistic. Salaries are rising. Now, I don't like to brag about the stock market. You've seen it goes up, it comes down. It'll retract a bit, but you watch. The stock market will go back on probably a much easier tear, if you will, and things will look better there. So this is where we are. But what I want to do when we get back in the next segment is show you how bad in every area these guys are upset. They're mad because they say Trump's going to cut this, policy. He's going to cut NPR. I don't give a crap about NPR. I don't need public radio. We got all kinds of radio. We got internet-based radio shows. Do something different, leftists. You don't need our money.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.